engage with politics rationally. We're told to vote, to debate, to write letters, and to respect the dignity of our institutions. But what happens when those institutions look at the collective anxiety of an entire generation and calls them pests?
Where youngsters like cockroaches, they don't get any employment, they don't have any place in profession. Some of them become media, some of them become social media, some of them become RTI activists, some of become another activists, and they start attacking everyone.
In May 2026, the Chief Justice of India reprimanded activists and unemployed youth on social media, calling them parasites and cockroaches. In a normal political climate, this would spark standard outrage. A few press releases, a trending hashtag, maybe a candle march. Instead, the youth of the India did something far more dangerous. They agreed. Within days, the Cockroach Janata Party was born, a satirical political movement whose manifesto required you to be chronically online and professionally lazy. Within a week, a parody account about bugs gained more followers than the country's actual ruling party. From the streets of New Delhi to the digital battlegrounds of the West, a strange new weapon is emerging in the fight against systemic despair. It isn't anger, it isn't policy, it's whimsy. It's the deliberate weaponization of the absurd, and as it turns out, it's exactly what the authority fears the most. To understand why a parody account about insects carries so much weight, we have to travel back a century to a world that was tearing itself apart. In 1916, Europe was trapped in the meat grinder of First World War. Millions of young men were being slaughtered in the mud, all ordered by highly sophisticated, rational, and civilized governments. To the young artists, writers, and draft dodgers fleeing to neutral Zurich, Switzerland, the world just hadn't lost its mind, it had exposed its logic as a lie. If logic and reason led to the trenches, they reasoned then that the only logical response was complete, unadulterated nonsense. They called this movement Dada. They gathered in a tiny nightclub called the Cabaret Voltaire. They didn't paint beautiful landscapes, they sliced up newspapers and let the words fall randomly onto paper. They didn't recite traditional poetry. They stood on stage in cardboard costumes and chanted gibberish. It looked like a joke, but it was an act of war against the status quo. Dada was anti art. It said to the ruling class, we refuse to speak the language of your corrupt civilization. Decades later, in the 1950s and 60s, a new group of radicals called the Situationist International took this a step further. They pioneered a concept called detournement, literally rerouting or hijacking. They took the slick authoritarian propaganda of capitalism and mass media, altered a few words or images, and turned it back on the powerful. They proved that you don't always need to fight an empire with bricks and guns. Sometimes you just need to hijack their symbols. Across the Atlantic, American activists called the Yippies brought this theater to the streets. In 1968, to protest the Vietnam War and rigged political system, they officially nominated a literal 145-pound pig named Pegasus for the President of the United States. When the police arrested the pig, the Yippies claimed victory. They had forced the state to reveal its own absurdity. The government looked ridiculous, and the illusion of its absolute dignity was broken. Fast forward to the modern arena where the scale of corruption feels so staggering it causes paralysis. In the West, young people process the horrors of institutional failure, from the dark unpunished reality of the Epstein files to systemic immigration crackdowns, not with long form debate, but with deep fried memes and weaponized nihilistic irony. But in India, this internet born absurdity did something dangerous. It jumped the screen. What began as an internet accident, a satirical page parodying the ruling BJP that amassed millions of followers overnight, suddenly materialized in the real world. When the national examination system fractured under massive paper leaks, leaving millions of students in limbo, leaving millions of students in limbo, the cockroaches decided to infest the streets. They didn't arrive with the traditional solemnity of a political rally. They brought Dakhni slang, satire, and absolute defiance. They occupied Jantar Mantar for weeks, staging indefinite sit ins and demanding the resignation of the Union Education Minister. Renowned climate activist Sonam Wangchuk even joined them, declaring himself an honorary cockroach and launching an intense hunger strike right alongside them, which continues till today. Think about the brilliant tactical jiu-jitsu at play here. By setting deliberately ironic rules for membership, requiring people to be lazy and unemployed, the movement completely neutralizes the state's favorite weapon, character assassination of the youth. It is easy to look at the Cockroach Janta Party, the yippies nominating a pig, or the Dadaists shouting gibberish in a Swiss cafe and dismiss them as mere distractions, just jokes, coping mechanisms for a generation too tired to fight real politics, but that misses the entire point of the strategy. Pure, unadulterated outrage is a very finite resource. If you spend every day consumed by righteous anger at the state of the world, you burn out. The system knows this. It is designed to withstand your anger. It has spent centuries building walls, courts, and riot gear specifically to contain it, but it has no armor against joy. It has no defense against a joke it doesn't understand. Whimsy is not an escape from reality, it is a rejection of the reality imposed upon us. It refuses to play by the rules of a rigged game. When the powerful demand your fear, giving them your laughter is the ultimate act of defiance because tyrants, institutions, and corrupt systems all rely on one fragile thing to survive, the illusion of their own absolute necessity. And nothing shatters an illusion quite like a punchline. So, the next time the world feels overwhelmingly dark and the powers that be reduce you to nothing more than a pest, don't just get mad. Lean into the absurd. Because as history shows us, the empires rise and fall, but the cockroaches, they survive everything.